Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brad with Osan Fitness, and today is April 22nd. Occasionally, a question comes in that is so good, I can't wait to answer it. And today is kind of one of those days. Question came through that is just so good, so on point, and I think has the opportunity to be able to help so many people that I'm just like, I'm ecstatic at the opportunity to try to answer the question. Now, before I answer the question, I'm gonna go through some qualifying stuff because I really hope that this video has the potential to reach a lot of people. And with it reaching a lot of people, maybe some of those folks have never seen me before and have no idea who I am or anything about me. And so just to give you a little bit of information about myself. You know, I'm active duty Army. I'm an E6 in the Army currently, stationed in Korea, and been in for about 12 years. So, you know, been around for a hot minute. I'm a competitive powerlifter, been doing powerlifting since, I don't know, 17 or so. I've won 2 world championships. I've had a world record, a number of state records, both in Michigan and in Florida. I've had 3 national records, and I am currently ranked top 40 all time in my weight class of 308 raw. And I believe, and have not found any information to the contrary, that I have posted the highest total for any active duty member in any branch for raw. So that means, you know, no equipment. So as far as strength goes, you know, I've had some experience and all that. That's not to say that I'm the end-all be-all font of knowledge, but I've had a lot of experience in strength, and it's something that I pride myself on and I pursue fairly tenaciously, kind of day to day. Now, I kicked off my channel, Despite Fitness, to be able to help as many people as I possibly could. And recently I've been trying to gear a little bit more information, a little bit more attention toward military, and trying to help out my military brethren, both male, female, and service irrespective, right? So Air Force, Marines, Army, whatever, right? I want the opportunity to try to help. So in that vein, if I can ever help, I'm interested in trying. I may or may not be able to help, but I'm willing to take a look. So circle back around to this question. So this question comes from another service member here in Korea whom I know personally, and I'm really excited that he asked this question because I think it's an amazing question, and it has to do specifically with the Army and the ACFT, or the upcoming ACFT. So here's the question. So Alexander Suarez asks me, or makes the comment rather, on my video talking about passing, the APFT run. It's nice to hear the point of view of running and how you prep for APFT, because I haven't really heard it before from NCOs, to be honest. Like you alluded, there's such an emphasis on run fast, but not a lot is done to get you there, although some may say that it's an individual responsibility. That's a good point. I feel like it really is an individual responsibility, but a lot of times units get in the way of the individual's efforts to be able to get where you need to be. Unfortunately, not all people have the wherewithal, the intestinal fortitude to do the right thing, and so that ends up being the reason or the excuse that units come in heavy-handed and lead PT in such a way, and that ends up being a detriment to people who really do have the focus to do the right thing. But that's probably another video. So here comes the question. The question I have for you, whether it could be a video or not, and it's definitely a video, is how are you going to prepare for the ACFT, and how would you recommend soldiers prepare who aren't used to strength-related tests? And that's a great question. So Suarez, I really do appreciate this question. I feel like it is a really poignant question to ask, and it has the opportunity to be able to help a lot of people. And so the thing that I want to drive home is the concept of specificity, right? So if you want to get better at something, you need to do that thing. If you want to get better at playing piano, are you going to go play baseball? Probably not. If you want to be a better hockey player, are you going to go play badminton? Probably not. if you want to get better at an event, you need to do that event. If you want to get better at a run, you need to perform the run in the context for which that run is tested. If you want to get better at a 2-mile run, you do 2 miles, or you break it up into subcomponents. So doing subcomponents of the event is still pretty specific. It's not as specific as doing the event, but it has very strong correlation to the actual event. So, for example, if you want to get better at a 2-mile run, would it be better to do a 6-mile run or a 1-mile run? I would argue that it would be far better to do the 1-mile run than it would be to do the 6-mile run. All right, so in looking at the upcoming ACFT, what we need to look is what the events are. And so I've jumped over to military.com to get descriptions of these events. So for the Army, the upcoming ACFT is going to include the strength deadlift. Is going to be a 3 repetition maximum deadlift to test strength, and this is going to be done on a hex bar. There's going to be the standing power throw, which involves throwing a 10-pound medicine ball as far as possible over the head to the rear. There's going to be hand-raised push-ups. In other words, you push up, lower, lift the hands, push up. That's going to be that event. There's going to be a 250-meter sprint, drag, and carry. This is 5 different events within one. A 50-meter sprint, a backward 50-meter drag of a 90-pound sled, a 50-meter movement, a 50-meter carry of 2 40-pound kettlebells, and a final 50-meter sprint. There will be a leg tuck. Soldiers will hang on a perpendicular on a pull-up bar. In other words, like this versus like this or like this. You'll be hanging like this, and bring his or her knees up to the elbows and back down again for 1 repetition. And then also the 2-mile run. And this test is supposed to be irrespective of age or sex, and it will be scaled toward the soldier's MOS. So the scoring requirements will vary based on what the soldier's MOSs are. Now, again, going back to this idea of specificity, I actually genuinely wholeheartedly believe the way to train for these events, if you're not used to strength training, is to look at these individual events and what they actually are, and either do the event or do some subcomponent of the event. Okay? So in terms of the strength deadlift, right? So the deadlift is going to be done on a hex bar. Not everybody has access to a hex bar right now. So one way that you can try to, get used to performing this movement is doing a deadlift on a straight bar, or perhaps maybe deadlifting with some dumbbells. Those might be ways that you can approximate what the hex bar deadlift might be like. But the best way to approach this is to, if you're not used to strength training, and this goes for every event, if you're not used to some kind of a strength event, start low. So for the case of the deadlift, if the requirement is, I don't know what the max is, I think it's like 3 something. But if the max is, say, let's for argument's sake say it's 350. If you're not able to deadlift 350 at this point in time, then deadlifting 350 is not your point of concern. What you need to begin to do is begin to get comfortable deadlifting. So you start low. Can you deadlift 95 pounds, which is a bar and 2 25-pound plates? So 1 25-pound plate on each side. That's 95 pounds. Can you deadlift 95 pounds? Okay, so if you can, then you may do, some work with 95 pounds. You might do, for example, 5 reps for, say, 5 sets. And you might do that for a week, perhaps maybe even 2. And once you're able to do that for a period of time, you're going to slowly ratchet up the intensity. And the intensity is what is the weight. So instead of, if you do that for, say, 2 weeks, on the 3rd week, Instead of doing the 95 pounds, you may do 110 pounds, right? Or say you may do 120 pounds, whatever. You're gonna make jumps and continually move up and try to stick with that, say 5x5. And slowly but surely over time, your deadlift is going to improve. And that is kind of how you skin the cat, or how you begin to dissect what you do to get to where you want to be. You take what the exercise is, and maybe you lower down the requirement and you do less for your training purposes until you can get comfortable and create the adaptation necessary to be able to be strong enough to do what the requirement is. So, again, let's say the standing power throw. I'm not looking at the specifics of the event, but it requires a 10-pound medicine ball, and you're supposed to throw it backwards over your head. So you may work with a 10-pound ball and just do some sets, not even necessarily worrying about how far you throw it per se. You're just worried about, say, sets of say 5 or even 10. You're gonna throw it over your head for 10 times, and 10 times is going to be, say, 1 set, and you're gonna do that for, say, 4 or 5 sets. If you do that for a period of time, you may be able to bump it up and start working with a 15-pound ball or a 20-pound ball. But what you're really doing is you're sending the demand signal to your body to create or to start some kind of an adaptation, to get stronger, to perform a certain function. Your body isn't going to do anything that there's not some kind of a demand for. So when you grow calluses, right, it happens because of friction on your hands. The calluses develop because you've sent a demand signal to your body to necessitate the acceleration of growth of epithelial cells, right? Like there is a demand, there is a response. So in preparing for all these events, you need to be as specific to these events as you can and slowly build up. So if you are unable to perform one of these events to the set standard, let's say you can't throw a 10-pound ball over your head for the distance, maybe you start lighter. Maybe you start with a 5-pound ball. Maybe you start with a 4-pound dumbbell. Whatever it is, but you start low on the intensity and begin to ratchet up the intensity, and the intensity is the weight that you're using, and you begin to ratchet that up slowly over time, so that slowly but surely you are increasing the demand, and so your body will recognize, I see what you're doing. Okay, you need me to do this thing, and I'm gonna get stronger as a result of the signal that you're sending. That's how it works. If you want to increase your bench press, you slowly start, on a lower scale, and you begin to increase the intensity over time. And as you do that, you send that demand signal to your body to increase your strength in your shoulders, your arms, and your chest, and you become stronger. Those muscle tissues grow, and you're able to perform that bench press more appropriately, or at least with more proficiency and able to handle heavier weights. That's exactly how you need to prepare for the ACFT. If you are not acclimated to, say, strength sports, you need to begin to get yourself acclimated to strength sports. Now, that does not necessarily mean that you need to jump headfirst into the pool on the deep end and do all the heaviest stuff, right away. Start light, start early, and slowly ratchet up the intensity as you go. And by the time that you're actually expected to perform the ACFT, you will have performed these movements with enough intensity, with enough repetitions over time, where you should be sufficiently strong enough to be able to perform the movements to standard. And then that will only increase with time. And so that's one thing that I hope to drive home for the military perspective, is the necessity for specificity. If you want to get better at something, you do that thing. If you want to get better at a 2-mile run, you don't run 10 miles. You run 2 miles or some subset of, and slowly build up your ability and your capacity to handle that demand, whatever that thing is. 2-mile run, deadlift, etc. Right? So, Alexander, I hope this answered the question. I hope, you know, we didn't go in depth on the individual events, you know, event by event, but that might be, you know, a potential for a future video and kind of doing some demonstrations on how I might be from a squad perspective, what I might do to prepare, you know, my notional squad to perform the ACFT to the best of their ability. But essentially is specificity, start low, increase intensity over time, increase volume over time. That sends the demand signal for your body to make the adaptations that are necessary, i.e. get bigger and stronger, to be able to perform the movements to the expectation as standard. Alexander, this is an amazing question. I really appreciate you asking it. This question has the potential to be able to help lots of soldiers all over the planet. And I would really, really appreciate it if anyone that sees this video shares it with their friends, their squad leader, their team leader, their platoon sergeant. You know, if I have the opportunity to be able to help people specifically within the military, specifically within the Army, that is absolutely my imperative. I hope that I can do that. And you know, if I can do future videos to be a little bit more pointed, a little bit more specific about each event, and you think that something like that might help you, please let me know, and I will try to set up the events and perform the events in a manner of which I've described to be able to demonstrate explicitly what it is that I'm talking about. Again, Alexander, thanks for the question. That's probably one of the best questions I've ever received. Remember, guys, no matter what it is you think you can't do, train despite. You're either going to find an excuse or you're going to find a way. And, you know, saying that you aren't used to strength sports, so you're going to bury or strength training, and you're going to bury your head in the sand like an ostrich, and just kind of ignore the ACFT until it's upon you, is probably the wrong answer. You know, leaning forward, being progressive, being proactive, and trying to do the best that you can with the time that you have to prepare for it is probably the best thing that you can do. You guys can help me out with the likes, the shares, and the subscribes. It would mean the world to me. And if you have more questions or there's something I can be a little bit more specific about, please let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.